You can probably listen to this interview.
Absolutely.
For sure.
But yeah, I want to say, like, starting out, like when she was talking about her life and her family and her trauma, I feel like I really resonated with that a lot.
I think in some shape, form, or fashion, all of us can relate in some capacity.
Absolutely.
To a lot of what she said. So we're going to play this first clip and then we'll expound on it. And this first clip is mainly her talking about trauma, right? So
we've been taught to say you mistreated me, you abused me, you violated me, you disrespected me, you belittled me, but I'm supposed to look at you at Thanksgiving and say, how you doing, Unc? That's what we've been taught. You swallow that pain. That's why people have such a problem with Cat Williams. People have a problem with people that says, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. And that causes a ruckus. And you would say, why are people upset with the truth? We've been taught to say, you mistreated me, you abused me, you violated me.
Okay. So obviously she's, in regards to the response to trauma and trauma specifically coming from family.
From family. I think for most of us, obviously, that's always going to be, that's the start. Your family, your relationship with, we've talked about it on here, your relationship with your mom, your dad, whatever. That's really going to shape, who you are and how you see the world. And I think she had a point where she said that, like, basically, we're kind of conditioned to accept trauma. I can't speak for any other community and how their families operate, but it's kind of like, family is family. At the end of the day, blood is thicker than water. Like, you hear all of these sayings where it's like, you only get one family. Okay. Well, if that family do me wrong, then what? You know what I mean? And if we're taught to accept that at home, what do you think that we're going to do when we go out into the world? You know what I mean? So I would say, do you believe that our issue with believing Monique or supporting Monique and supporting people like Cat Williams is because we are, as a community, conditioned to accept trauma?
I don't think it's because we're conditioned to accept trauma. I just think the narrative is typically always spun from the people that are in control first.
Okay.
So what was put out there before was that she's difficult to work with. So if we already have that presupposition, then anything else that she says is discredited. Because it's, you're only saying this because you're angry. Or because you're
being difficult,
bitter, because you're vindictive. So whatever you have to say with the venom is because of that. It's not because of the truth. It's because you're being vengeful, basically, right?
Yeah.
And the way she approached it gave credence to what was being said, because there was a lot of venom, very aggressive. So we're like, okay, well, that lines up with the narrative, right? It's easier for us to believe that than it is for us to believe all these people have conspired against her.
See, as a Black woman, that's the thing, because we all know what the narrative is of Black women, the angry Black woman and this and that. So a lot of times when we speak, it aligns with the narrative that's already been spun about us.
For sure.
You get what I'm saying? So I see the frustration in Black women feeling like I have to tiptoe and I have to, or hold my tongue, even when I'm in the right. I've been wrong. Even when I'm in the right in that situation, I have to approach it a certain way to be heard.
Well, I don't think that's Black. I think that's Black people in general. I think Black men deal with the same thing. Like when we're at the workplace, we have to be very careful on what we say, how we say it, because if not, it's, you're being aggressive, or you're, I'm intimidated by you. Like, just our stature is intimidating.
I think even for Black women, even when we ain't saying nothing,
right,
it's a problem.
That's what I'm saying.
If I'm at work and I'm just to myself and quiet and just working, and what's wrong with you?
Yep.
What's going on? Are you okay? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, even in our silence, it's a problem. You know what I mean? And I think when you talk about family trauma and then how we do business and how we operate in the workplace, I think we've talked about it off air that children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Seen and not heard. Absolutely.
So then how do you then know how to operate in confrontation in the workplace or in contract negotiations or
in relationships?
If you've never experienced that. And also there's also that fear of authority. Because at home it's what the authority figure says and that's it. There's no questioning them. There's no coming to them and saying, I feel like this or I didn't like that. There is none of that.
Yep, that's true. That's true. I think the other part of it is too, is that we have to also acknowledge a lot of times, the only times that Black children are heard is when they're angry. Soft speaking and trying to reason. And typically that does not move the needle at all.
Or when they act out.
The only time that they're heard is when they're act out or when there's anger attached to it.
Because when a Black child acts out like they, you know what I mean, blows up or whatever, then it becomes, what's going on? Let's sit down. What's happening? Why that conversation couldn't happen before?
Prior to that. Yep, absolutely. So I feel like what Monique is saying, obviously she's talking about in the family structure that we accept See, but I think there's layers to it because we kind of live in a world where we're kind of too quick to cancel. Like, oh, I'm cutting you off because I don't like how you did this. I don't like how you did this. And we taking the boundary conversation way too far.
Yeah.
Just because somebody says something I don't like, oh, I'm not your friend no more because I don't like how you spoke. It's like, no. There's degrees of disrespect.
And some things can be reconciled. I feel like we're in the era now of cut off immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is no, and I think it's because people are too afraid of confrontation. That's what she's saying.
And
like,
conflict.
We have to have these hard conversations and come to you and say, hey, this hurt my feelings when you said this, or I felt this has made me feel this way. People don't want to have the conversation because you have to be vulnerable and be honest. You know, now it's like, oh, nothing bothers me. I'm unbothered. I have to act like nothing bothers me. So if something does bother you, it's easier for you to cut that person off than actually address it.
Yep.
Then I actually admit that you felt some kind of way. Like if you feel some kind of way, you lost.
Right.
It's weird behavior.
Well, I think the other side of that is you have to have a safe space to be able to express yourself. So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey, you offended me, it can't be gaslighting, I didn't offend you, you tripping, you doing too much, you being overly dramatic. So then, like in the same setting that we're talking about, we have to learn how to be able to deal with conflict. Well, in order to be able to deal with conflict, you have to be in relationship with somebody that's willing to listen to the conflict and listen and be open. And there was something somebody shared with me and it just came to my mind and I'm glad that it did. Hold on, let me see if I can find here it is. It's called dang it, can I find the actual list though? Let me just put in this. Oh, come on, man.
It always be like that.
It always be like this. Okay, it's called here it is. It's called DARVO. That's what it is. DARVO. Do I got it? Yeah, DARVO. It's an acronym. It is deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. It is a deflection tactic that involves gaslighting, blame shifting, and scapegoating. And I was like, yo, that in the Black community, that happens often.
Absolutely.
So let me kind of it summarizes a constant reaction and manipulation tactic used by the perpetration of abuse or other types of wrongdoing. It works by shifting the focus away from the original issue and attacking the actual victim. It attempts to switch the roles of the victim and perpetrator to allow the actual offender to receive sympathy and compassion publicly or privately, as well as to avoid consequences for their action.
Yeah.
Now let me paint that out. Right? Now, y'all can relate to this, and I'm not putting nobody on blast, and I'm not saying this happened in my household. Just as a Black man, I've seen it, and I've seen it in my adult relationships. But you learn it from childhood trauma, right? You bring something to your parents. Your parents, like, you say that, hey, that you offended me or you hurt me by doing such and such. Oh, well, don't I do this? Don't I take you to school? Don't I put clothes on your back? Don't I put a roof over your head? Don't I put food on your table? I can't believe that you would really come to me and have this complaint against me when I do all of this other stuff. And you see me, I work 40 hours a week and I'm tired and I still get up and I still take you to the basketball game. And then by the time you get to that, then it's like now you feel bad for even bringing it up. So now it's a reversal. It's I'm bringing a conflict, but now you reversed it and now I'm the one that feels bad. And now you gaslight me for even bringing it up. So now the next time that I do have a grievance, I'm not going to say nothing. Because every time I say something, you're going to throw in my face what you've done for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where it starts.
Right? So then when you get in relationships, the same thing happens in relationships. And that's why, like, there's a lot of black men that will not open up and say anything because when they would bring something to their mom, most, single parent moms, whatever, their mom would then do that to them. It would be, why are you even bringing this up? Why are you saying this? I've done X, Y, Z, this. I don't even know why you're saying that. And then the way you making me feel is if you are saying all this and you've been thinking about this your whole time, that makes me feel like you never really respected me as your mom in the first place. And then it's like, dang, how do we get to me bringing something to you to now you mad at for me bringing it up and make you feel bad? And then by the time you end the conversation, you like, I didn't even get a chance to really express myself.
Well, that's something that she said a lot in her interview was accountability. And she was saying, like, even with the family, take accountability, not just sweep it under the rug and act like, nothing happened. Because I know a lot of people in our age group can attest to they bring up something to their parent and they just got amnesia.
Yeah.
I don't never remember that happening.
Yeah.
I ain't never said nothing like that.
Or won't apologize and will not say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? It's like even if you don't remember it or even if that wasn't your perspective, if you made somebody feel a certain way, you can still apologize by saying, hey, that wasn't my intention, but I apologize for, hurting you in that way. That wasn't what I was trying to do.
And honestly, us as, I can only speak for the millennial generation, I feel like our generation does have a lot of empathy for our parents now that we are adults. So it's like, I feel like most of us would be
willing to forgive
and understand because it's like now as an adult, now that I'm, the hustle and bustle of being an adult and working, a lot of people got kids and stuff like that. You understand better what they went through.
At first, I didn't believe my parents, but when they said they didn't have no McDonald's money, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. And I apologize to them. I'm like, look, I get it, man. Because, look, it's expensive.
No, for real.
It's expensive. So I get it. When you live in paycheck to paycheck, that little meal that you buy for your family, that could change some things, you know what I'm saying?
I would just sit up begging for Jordans and why I can't get these and why, I was able to get them last time. Now I know. You don't know what was going on last time.
You don't know what was going on. And you don't know what bills need to be paid. And
hello.
Right? And dad saying you need to turn off the air or turn off the lights. Like, I'm like, dog, like, why are you tripping off the lights? But now I get it. So
we are understanding, but it's just the denial and the dismissiveness and the gaslighting that we can't get behind.
Absolutely. But I will say on the flip side of what Monique was saying, she's totally right that if somebody does something that is inappropriate or touching or whatever, like we have to listen to our children. And if you have a bad reaction bodily wise or if you don't want to go to somebody's house, we can't just be like, oh, like, no, that's your favorite uncle, you should just go anyway. No, you need to investigate. Why do you not feel comfortable over there? What happened? Because a lot of times you don't get that story until later, right? And it's like, well, why don't you like going there? I just don't like going over there. And sometimes kids don't have the tools to communicate that, right? Because they're scared of what the backlash is going to be. And there's a lot of times and there's a lot of people that I've talked to that have been compromised, molested, abused, and when they told their parents what happened, they got in trouble. They were chastised for it. Like that didn't happen. And then again, gaslighting, the Darvo thing, or getting spanked or getting beat from like, so you're teaching them that there's a consequence to being truthful. And I cannot trust my primary caregiver to protect me.
And that's exactly what she said. She was like, how are people so riled up by the truth?
Yeah.
but you're not riled up by the truth because of what you're hearing, and you're appalled by what actually happened.
By what happened,
You're
yeah.
appalled by somebody saying something.
Yeah.
That's the shock. The shock is, why would you say this? Why would you be open with it? Why would you name names?
And because and what my belief is, because majority of us are raised in households where we sweep things under the rug. And you just don't say nothing. You just keep it to yourself. What happens in your house stays in your house. And a lot of these things are cultural, and they're very damaging. And that is why we have so many issues within Black women and Black men, and conflict resolution, communication, right? We always talk about, and it's so funny because communication is the key to all relationships. Okay, so where did you learn how to communicate? Where did you learn healthy tools how to communicate? What tips? Who did you learn how to communicate from? And if you had bad communication a model for you in your childhood, then where do you learn good communication?
Yeah.
Have you read any books? Have you gone any, like, we just think that we're gonna just work our way through it. No, you're gonna do what was comfortable and what you saw and what was taught more times than not. Right?
Absolutely.
So I think we have to be more intentional when it comes to those things. And I think that
we need to be more self-aware and more self-reflective, because I feel like people don't realize how their trauma shapes how they act and how they move, and how a lot of the things that they do is a response to their trauma.
And more specifically, how your childhood trauma plays a part in your adulthood.
And she definitely talked about that.
Right. So we cannot turn a blind eye and just think, oh, well, I'm good. You're good based off of what?
Yeah.
Better than your parents does not mean that you're good. Right. And unfortunately, sometimes a lot of these issues don't come up to a boil until you're in a marriage or until you're a parent.
And that's exactly what she said when he asked her about her, because she's been open about her being molested by her brother.
For sure.
And he asked her about, how did that show up in your relationships? You got the clip.
Yeah, I think